Hello there. My name is Maeve and welcome to the Online Learning in the Bachelor of Arts session. We're so excited that you're here with us and we just wanted to congratulate you on your offer to study with us at the University of Melbourne. This is your first insight into the Bachelor of Arts community and a taste of what's to come. We acknowledge that the University of Melbourne Parkville campus is on the lands of the Wurundjeri people, who have been custodians of this land for over 40,000 years. The university has other campuses and sites around Victoria too. So today we acknowledge and pay our respects to Wurundjeri elders past and present, and those traditional owners of other campuses, and to those whose land it is wherever you are joining us from today. So just some housekeeping before we get started with our amazing panel. You will see on your screen there's a Q&A box, so please put your questions in the Q&A and our team will get back to you behind the scenes, and we'll also ask some of your great questions to our live panel. So stay tuned and don't forget, just post along the way. So in today's great live session, you'll hear from our course director of the Bachelor of Arts, Dr. Wendy Haslam, to find out how online classes are conducted before we pass over to a panel of three incredible students who are going to talk to you of all things arts at Melbourne. So we're really excited and we hope that this will be a fantastic additional event after your Welcome to Melbourne Day 1 and Day 2. So I'm very delighted now to hand it over to Dr. Wendy Haslam, who is going to get started with talking about the Bachelor of Arts online learning. Thanks, Wendy.
Thank you so much, Maeve, and hello everyone. Huge and warm welcome to your Bachelor of Arts for all students commencing and even thinking about commencing in semester 2 of this year. So as many students in our mid-year commencing cohort may be beginning their degree online this semester and hopefully joining us later when borders are open, when travel is unrestricted and permitted, I thought that you might like to hear about and perhaps even see some examples of how teaching works for you, how online teaching and education works for you, but also about how the experience of the BA will unfold for you. So, of course, a huge and warm welcome from me as Program Director, and we're so pleased and proud that you'll be joining us as well, that you'll become part of our 2021 group of commencing students, and you'll be joining about 2,200 students who have commenced this year. So, I think you might also already have a clear idea about what distinguishes the University of Melbourne and what's distinct about the Bachelor of Arts. You will have read and learned that the university is very much in that top 30 of universities globally, and you might also know that the faculty is really highly regarded in terms of research and the education that it provides and the connection between that research and education as well. And you might already know that you have an opportunity to select from one or maybe even two of 33 majors, and that you can consider taking even one of the 9 distinct minors that we offer. But here's what's not printed or highlighted in course guides or official websites. The BA, and this has also been my experience as well, the BA can actually be a transformational educational experience. So of course it will give you a qualification and it will open doors to professional careers or to higher degree study, but it will also allow you and encourage you and challenge you to see and think differently, to of course think more expansively and broadly, but to develop skills that will allow you to think even in quite a deep and detailed way. It offers students new insight into the selected areas of their study, but it provides an engagement that includes art and the arts, so humanities, social sciences and languages. But then it also invites you, as you might know, to learn more about other disciplines by using your breadth study. So it's this combination of really deep disciplinary knowledge amazing, very contemporary skills, skill base for future careers. And then that disciplinary knowledge that comes from other faculties who show us how to learn in new ways as well. So those are some of the secret things that course directors don't usually tell you. Another thing that I wanted to share with you is what online learning tools or what an online learning experience would be like when you're joining us from a distance. So I've got a little slideshow here. Michelle, let's move to the first slide in, which is the Padlet. So this is an example from a subject called First Peoples in Global Contexts. And here, students were encouraged to create a kind of on-country experience. So they were asked to go out to places in Melbourne and to think about themselves as being visitors in someone else's home or country. So students were asked to go out and take photos and create up to 3 posts and then to comment on 3 posts by other students as well. So there are more than 200 students in this subject and there were more than 600 posts. And this portal that you can see, this Padlet portal, became an interactive digital repository showing those places and identifying how students experience those places as well. So students were able to engage them with the key concepts of the course within that Padlet platform, and they could share each other's work, so they could collaborate and comment on each other's work. And I think the next slide shows you an example from one in particular. So students going to see the first scarred tree. Now this is an experience that students were able to have on country, of course, but because it's shared online on that Padlet, and because the Padlet is an interactive tool, so other students could come in and read the information about that scarred tree and then provide feedback and contribute as well. So creating this really nice kind of peer-to-peer connection for students on country and students who are offshore too. The next one is an example from a subject called the digital screenscape. Any film student may well be interested in the subject called the digital screenscape. So it's a discipline, it's a subject that's taught in the discipline of screen and cultural studies, which is also where I teach as well. And here it's another Padlet platform, but here students were asked to or invited to, or they're given the choice of creating a blog page or creating a video essay. So the task there for students was to show but not tell their message. So they were using film as a medium that emulates the approach of the film that they were studying themselves, which is a really amazing way to think about how you can use digital media tools to not only interrogate, but to think through what film is actually doing as well. So that's an example from Digital Screenscape. If we move on and have a look at the next one. Next one is a really great example of a podcasting task that's been happening in Italian language studies for quite a few years now. So for Italian 4, students who are learning Italian are creating podcasts as one of their assessments. So they're presented with the opportunity to collaborate with one another, which helps them really kind of, alleviate some of the anxiety perhaps of speaking in a new language. And they're asked to conduct an interview and then transcribe that interview and then reflect on the new language that they're learning and which helps improve their conversational skills. Now, for some of the podcasts, some of those were actually then broadcast on a national radio station on the Italian program of SBS radio station. So students could actually hear their podcasts and their families could hear their podcasts as well as a real celebration of the work that they've done in Italian. The next one is a subject called Myth, Art and Empire. And here, students in the discipline of Ancient World Studies were using virtual reality tools to allow them to fully appreciate the three-dimensionality of objects or architecture or friezes, and then to interact with those materials as well. So this virtual reality tool actually creates an authentic learning experience for students, and it conveys the physical reality of analysing and understanding objects. So students interacted with the form and the space of the work. This is something that's open to all students, no matter where students are. The next one is a video blogging. So we're back with another language subject, and this is French studies. And you might be able to see this in action if we press play.
Salut Lydia.
Salut Ruby, comment ça va?
Oh, je m'ennuie maintenant avec le confinement. Si tu avais le choix d'aller n'importe où voyagerais-tu?
Si j'avais le choix, j'irais à Paris parce que j'adore la langue et la magie de la vie.
Alors, d'accord. En fait, commençons à planifier un échange linguistique là-bas maintenant.
So in this example, you see students
D'accord, ça semble
practicing their language and doing that live as they plan a trip to Paris. So live in real time between students who are at really very different locations across the globe. This one is a video, 360-degree video interactive film, and the film's called Who is Nature? And in this example, students in Spanish and Latin American studies were able to kind of take a 3D imagined journey to 5 Latin and Australian sites of ceremonial exchange with nature. So the scroll to explore and the interactive buttons allow for kind of triggering interviews with elders and with specialists. So we scroll through the landscape, through nature, and we hear from the people who are ancestral custodians of that land and nature. And again, that's available to all students, no matter where they are in the world. I think I've got one more to show you. And this is it. Just an example of what an online tutorial looks like in a French subject. So here we have students, you can see their names, which is really great, but everybody's involved in participating in an online Zoom tutorial and really kind of participating to advance their French language studies. So you can see what collaboration looks like for an online tutorial. Now that's all I have to show you in terms of interaction, online tutorials and online tools. And we'll come back to Maeve, who I think might have some questions.
I do. Thank you, Wendy. And thank you to everyone who is sending through their questions through the Q&A function. Please continue to do that and we will keep asking them. So Wendy, just to begin with, a question we're getting asked a lot for the Bachelor of Arts is the content the same? Is it taught online? Is it different to the classroom face-to-face teaching? And is alongside the content, is it the same teachers participating in these subjects as well?
Great question, Maeve. So of course it's entirely identical online and on campus. So if, well, students actually will have the same topics, the same access to lectures, including in many cases lectures that students can interact with live from their own home. They have the same tutorial groups, the same workshop material, the same lecturers and the same tutors. So when thinking about selecting your subjects for second semester from the handbook, the subject outline will provide, of course, that clear description of what is involved in the subject, but then that will also show you the name of the coordinator, and that coordinator will be the same central academic for all students offshore and onshore across the 12 weeks. And that's the same for the tutor as well, whose name might not be on the handbook, but you'll have that same tutor and same peers and classmates for the entire 12 weeks of the semester.
Fantastic. And that leads me really well into my next question about how do students starting their first semester online interact with their tutors and lecturers, and do they get an opportunity for that one-on-one consultation?
Absolutely. So that last slide was a really good kind of visual example of that sort of interaction. So people will be inside a Zoom room all together, usually not more than 20 and usually much less than 20 people. And they will interact as a larger group of 20, but then sometimes they'll interact in smaller breakout rooms. So there might be a question posed by the tutor or the lecturer, and then students will go off into smaller groups of, say, perhaps 5, and have an opportunity to work with one another in a more kind of, in a smaller setting where they can work collaboratively to provide the answer to that question. In terms of access to tutors, yes, you will always see your tutor every week online. Sometimes there are informal opportunities just at the end of the Zoom tutorial to speak with your tutor. But then sometimes I think it's really good to email your tutor to ask for their consultation time. And that way you get a really good one-on-one discussion with that tutor at that time. So you can talk about anything with your tutor.
Fantastic. And a question that a lot of our international students are asking is around assessment. So how are the Bachelor of Arts students taking assessments online, and do we consider time zones?
Yes. So in arts, there aren't too many exams, which is great news. So you'll see in the handbook what your assessment task for that particular subject is. However, sometimes there are tests. So if there's a test, sometimes that test can be a take-home test. So students might, for example, get 2 days to do a short assignment, take that home and then upload it after 2 days. Sometimes maybe if it's in a language subject, there might be an oral test. So there might be something like that kind of live discussion that you saw from the students who are planning their trip to Paris. And sometimes if it's a longer exam, it will be held at the end of semester when students have finished their studying and are ready to show what they've learned. And some of those exams are under regular exam conditions, but the only difference is that students who are offshore can do it from the comfort of their own home. And usually it's done in exactly the same way that this webinar is happening, by using Zoom cameras on, but usually you are muting yourself.
Of course.
Time zone. I almost forgot. And yes, so we do our best to schedule classes across the day, and that for us that means 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So in that 12-hour kind of span, there should be a tutorial that suits your time zone. So some students might have a smaller kind of difference in time zone, a smaller time difference, but some students have a significant time difference, and it's all about registering in an online tutorial that matches your own time zone. So last year I taught a student who had written to me, emailed me before the subject started and said, could I please join your Friday 9 a.m. online tutorial? And I said, of course. So she joined. And then it was only later that I realized that she wanted that time because she was Zooming from Louisiana in the United States. So she needed the 9 a.m. and that was absolutely fine. She was an amazing contributor in class, really amazing student. But then, of course, we were all online there as well. But then I realized she sent me a chat one day to say, you know, I'm sorry that I can't have my camera on, but actually in Louisiana today we have a hurricane. So it's really amazing and interesting to think about where students are, where they're joining you from, but also what's happening for people in their own homes at that time as well. Sometimes it's hard to imagine. But yeah, that was really amazing. I was so pleased that she could stay with us for that class, even though there was, you know, really, terrible winds outside. I could hear it when she spoke.
Fantastic. And it really does just show that our students are coming to us from over 160 countries from around the world, and that 12-hour time slot is really considerate to students no matter where you are. There will be an option for you. So with that, I'm going to bring on some of our current students. So Charlene, Seymour and Eva, if you guys want to pop your cameras on. So we're really excited to have this panel join Wendy and I today. So Charlene is a Bachelor of Arts student studying Media and Communications. And Charlene, I'll start with you and then we'll come over and introduce our other speakers as well. So just to get started, can you tell us a little bit about your learnings from one of the really awesome roles that you have as Media Officer for the Melbourne University Debating Society?
Yeah, sure, I would be happy to. So when I first joined Uni Melbourne, which was 2 semesters ago, I was looking through all the clubs, and ever since secondary school, I always wanted to do debating. However, when I was younger, I admit I was rather shy and reserved and didn't really dare do it. And in the institution before I came into university, unfortunately, they didn't offer such a club. So when Melbourne University Debating Society is open, I was like, oh my goodness, yay, I can finally try out something which I've never dared to do, and Melbourne has given me the opportunity to do so. So I signed up and I applied for the position as media officer. And so far, I can say it has definitely been a blast. I'm totally new to debating. I have no experience at all, but the seniors have been very patient and very accepting as well when I adjudicate debates and stuff. And I also create content, for example, for Mud Summerfest, which was last semester during orientation. I managed to be able to produce a video, and it was really great getting to chat with the rest of the committee and find out their ideas and goals for the club, and to think of a great script idea to be put up for new prospective students. I think these are one of the rewarding things. And as a media and communication student, I get to apply these learnings from what I learned in class to my position as well. So it's outside of a class setting and seeing how I can take the learning further. Definitely has been a blast.
Fantastic. And Charlene is coming to us from Singapore. So a great example of a student who has been doing this online. And if you do have any questions for Charlene, pop them in the Q&A chat. Now I would like to introduce Eva. So Eva is currently an honours student in the Bachelor of Arts. So she did the Bachelor of Arts majoring in Spanish and Latin American studies, as well as politics and international studies. So we're really excited to have you here, Eva. And I just wanted to kick off by asking, as someone who has completed the 3 years of the Bachelor of Arts, can you share some of the highlights of your experience?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Maeve. Hi, everyone. Yeah, so I, just to start off, absolutely loved my whole Bachelor of Arts. It was a really amazing experience. There were so many things I really enjoyed, like doing a big variety of subjects. I think that was kind of one of the highlights, was just being able to try so many different things. Like you said, I majored in politics and Spanish, but I also did Italian journalism, rock music, like so many different things. And that was just like a really fantastic experience to get to try all these different things.
Awesome. And it's great to have your experience as somebody who's been through a lot of it and has some awesome tips and tricks for our team. So I'm now excited to introduce Seymour. So Seymour is a student who is doing economics and psychology in the Bachelor of Arts, so has some fantastic advice for you all. And Seymour, before we get started, I just wanted to ask you about something really interesting. Could you share some of the highlights of your role as a student mental health promotion consultant? Can you share some of the tips there?
So at the moment, I'm working with health promotion team in planning and reviewing about universities' mental health initiatives and activities. And I think one of my highlights there is that I got trained as a mental health first aider. Similar to physical first aider, mental health first aider is to provide help to the people who may experience mental health problems. So we provide them with information where to get help, and we give them support and non-judgmental communication. And we give them hope. So at the first contact. So I think it's really great that through this experience, I can combine what I learned from Bachelor of Arts as a psychology student into actually a workplace experience, which is really great.
Fantastic. We're really lucky to have your expertise in growing that area of the university. So my next question to all of our students here is, what are some of your tips to make the online learning experience the best it can be? So inside, outside of the classroom, what advice can you give to our students? So Charlene, I might start with you.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Wow, definitely it's been very eye-opening, quite strange also to transition from in-person learning to online learning. And I started my university education in 2020, so everything was like online and stuff. But I guess I'll condense it into two main tips. On a more academic front, definitely is to really stay on top of your work, because I understand that given remote learning and all, it can be very tempting to just laze in your PDAs and like just completely let loose, but it really will come back to haunt you later. So I think it's very important for every week to really stay on top of your readings and to always be in consultation with tutors. My tutors so far, they've all been really helpful and very great in like giving advice. As for more social front, I would say, even though it might be a bit awkward online especially, but to really get involved in as many clubs and societies as you can. Of course, everyone's commitments are different, but to the best of your ability, because really, I think university is the best place to get to experience all these new things and to get to mix around new people and add new experiences to your resume. So I think just to have that sort of attitude moving forward is really the best way to go about online learning.
Fantastic. Thanks, Charlene. And Eva, I'm going to come to you with a slightly different question. Can you tell us a little bit how easy it is in an online sense to connect with friends, with your classmates? Can you give some advice on how you can approach making friends in that situation?
Yeah, sure thing. I think one of the nice things about online learning, for starters, you can never forget people's names because they're always written on the on the Zoom, so you never sort of run into that embarrassment. But as well, I think like the breakout rooms that you have in tutorials. So in most tutorials, you'll kind of get split off into little rooms where you're just chatting with like 2 or 3 people. And I think that's a really fantastic opportunity to make friends. Like personally, I've made, especially in honours this year, made some like really lovely friends online just through the breakout rooms, because, you're there and your tutor isn't there. So even if you sort of don't like the subject very much, I'm sure that wouldn't be the case necessarily, but everyone has their good days and bad days. It's you're always able to have a chat with the people in your class, which is great.
Fantastic. And how about you, Seymour? Do you have any advice for students really wanting to know how can I make the most of the connection between your peers in the Bachelor of Arts?
Yeah, in my own experience, at Faculty of Arts, there is a program called Peer Assisted Study Sessions, which in short is called PAS. So in those sessions, there are previous students who have done really well in that subject, and then they are the peer leader who held weekly revision sessions for the students who are currently doing the subjects. So for myself, I was doing Japanese, and I attend the past sessions for my Japanese 1, 2, and 3, and it was really a beneficial experience because not only I can get extra revision, but also I actually make friends in those sessions, and we can study and practice Japanese together. So I think definitely go check out all the programs, services that university Faculty of Arts offer. So yeah.
Fantastic. And Eva, did you want to comment on that as well? I know that you've been really involved with that program too.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up, Seymour. I have been a peer assisted study sessions leader for I think 2 or 3 years now. So I've been like one of the students that sort of facilitates the sessions. And yeah, Seymour's absolutely right. It's a really great space to make friends, and like I've made friends with the people that have come to my past sessions. And yeah, it's like a really fantastic space because it's not, the past leader isn't a tutor, they're just another student that's in the year above you. And so it's, yeah, both really good academically and socially, because you just have a chat about what's going on in your life and things like that, which is great.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Eva. Now, just to finish, because I know that we're nearly out of time, we're just going to go around to our speakers and ask one of the most important questions for a student about to start the Bachelor of Arts semester 2, July this year. What is your number one tip to getting started? Put yourself in their shoes. What advice can you provide? So Seymour, we'll start with you.
Cool. My tip would be enjoy yourself during the orientation week. Try to attend as many events, activities as possible. Try to attend all those amazing workshops for your academic writings as well, because in Bachelor of Arts, there will be a lot of essay writings, report writings. So definitely it's important to get your head around to know how to write an essay before all your assignments start all at once. So that would be my tip.
Fantastic, great advice. Charlene, over to you, same question.
Yeah, I really agree with what Seymour has said, but just to add on, I think it's really important that you get familiar with your LMS, which is the Learning Management System, and the different features, all that stuff that are available and where goes where for each subject, because that will really help whenever you navigate through it, and also to create a Google Drive for important documents. That's what really helped for me when I first started. So yeah, basically just to get organized of the important information for each subject. You'll be on great start.
Great. And Eva, some closing remarks from you?
Yeah, well, just to follow on from what Charlene said, download the subject guides. It took me 3 weeks to figure out in my first year that all of the tutors put together beautiful subject guides which tell you all the readings for every week, all of the assignments you're going to have. So that's like, download those and you'll be fine. But yeah, as well, just try and enjoy the experience. And as well, remember that if you're doing a subject, like when in the first few weeks, you've got a few weeks to try out subjects. And there's, oh my gosh, I've forgotten what it's called. There's a date, it's the census date before where you can swap out of subjects. So like, don't feel a lot of pressure to choose the perfect subjects right now. You've got a couple of weeks to decide. And if you don't like a subject, you can move out of it and move into another subject.
Great advice. Thanks, Eva. And I'm just going to pass it back to Wendy Haslam, who is, of course, our course director of the Bachelor of Arts, for some closing remarks for today.
Just to say huge thanks to everyone involved, Maeve, Eva, Charlene, Seymour, everyone. And my tip for all students is to just make the most of your time, because you'll be meeting and working with students from a range of countries, a range of cultural backgrounds. So it'll be amazing to meet and learn from all of those people. And sometimes you're actually even able to remain connected beyond the 12 weeks of the semester, and know that that 12 weeks goes by really fast. So you look back on the time and it's almost like, where did it go? So online learning is wonderful because it allows you to connect very closely with people, even though you're at a real distance. And for me, I found online teaching really amazing because I was able to meet students' families, I was able to meet their pets, and I was able to share experiences in real time and sometimes across those really vast distances. So my tip is to make the most of your time with us and absolutely really to enjoy every moment. And thank you, everyone.
Fantastic. Thank you once again, everybody. We hope that you have enjoyed your Welcome to Melbourne International Student Webinar Series. We will follow up with an email early next week with all of the recordings and information we've shared. But for now, thank you. Enjoy your day, and we look forward to welcoming you to our community shortly. Thank you.